whatever it is that you're wanting to do, just start. Just start doing it. Like, don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till Tuesday after the long weekend. You just got to start.
Welcome back to another installment of the NextGen Case Study series. On today's episode, we have Tim Thomson, who is the founder and CEO of Cybertrends Incorporated, a leading cybersecurity consulting firm that specializes in leveraging AI and data analytics to provide innovative cybersecurity solutions for businesses worldwide. With a strong background in technology and cybersecurity, Tim has dedicated his career to helping organizations protect their digital assets and stay ahead of evolving cybersecurity threats. His leadership at Cybertrends is defined by a focus on cutting-edge technologies and a proactive approach to cybersecurity strategy, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Tim, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. I'm really excited to talk about some of the work that you're doing at Cybertrends, but before we dive into it, I'd love to start with just a quick couple of minutes on who you are, where you came from, and how you landed as the CEO of Cybertrends.
Well, great question. So I've been in technology for 25 years now. Seems like just yesterday, but I started off working for Microsoft as an instructor in my early days, and then I successfully built a $7 million a year IT managed service provider out of Calgary over the last 22 years, and successfully exited out of that. And now my mission is to help teach corporations and educate corporations on how to prepare for cybersecurity, as well as coach and mentor other IT providers to help them continue to grow and layer in additional cybersecurities to help protect their customers.
So it's my understanding, Tim, that this is not your first time at the rodeo here in terms of starting up a cybersecurity business. I wonder if maybe we could focus on the cyber trends part of this and look at how maybe your role has evolved from, being the founder and wearing all the hats to kind of more refining your role as the CEO.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as we kind of grown over the years, you kind of look at the different avenues and ways of services that we deliver. And so as I kind of continue to grow and spread my wings, so to speak, I'm really looking to provide next level cybersecurity solutions and not just services to various corporations and IT providers. And so the strategy for me really is to get the IT providers and the corporations on board to understand the importance of cybersecurity, and then leveraging the vendor and the technology and the AI tools out there to help them do more with less, like at the end of the day.
So the early stages there, as a kind of a scrappy startup, you got to do a number of different things to kind of acquire your first handful of customers. I wonder if maybe you could share a little bit about what that experience was like and how you were looking for people and finding the right people to serve.
Good question. So, I'm not a traditional salesperson. I've always had built relationships and trust. And so as I was going into companies that talk about cybersecurity, a lot of it back in 2017, 18 was a lot more around the sales side of it.
Hmm.
And I'm a relationship guy, I build trusts. And so I came up with the idea to how to build a 27-hour course of how to build or how to prepare corporations for cybersecurity. So my goal was to teach them where they're deficient within the organization of their security practices, and then help them along the way kind of grow into a more mature security model. So that really gained a lot of traction because it was about giving back, and it was about educating and helping organizations better define what that looks like within their organization. So ever since then, it just, again, networking, relationships, trust, delivering quality services and helping them get to the next level.
So when you talk about the relationship building aspect of the work that you do, to some that seems like a foreign concept because marketing is supposed to be a very specific set of steps and data, and you analyze this and you refine that and iterate here and there, and relationship building isn't necessarily quite as cut and dry. So I wonder if you could share your approach to meeting new people and kind of building that trust. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the marketing and the sales aspects, the traditional ways of doing that is all still important to do. You need to make a connection, and then from there you have to build a relationship. And the reality is that people and companies are not going to buy from anybody that they don't trust, right? So you can't just walk into a business and pitch a 30-minute concept on cybersecurity and get a check for $100,000. It just doesn't work that way, right? And so over the course of time, multiple coffees, multiple meetings, just generally sharing. One of the things I really do is I always share educational content and help them better understand kind of areas that they need to look at. So if they're struggling with a vulnerability test, I'll send them some detail or some information and some concepts around how other people are doing that so they get a better understanding. The more you can educate a client or a user of what you're trying to sell and help them get a better understanding in their head around it, the faster and easier it is to get that sale through the door, through the relationship.
Right. So as you continue to kind of, you know, look for opportunities to connect with and reach out to people, what sorts of challenges, bottlenecks, or friction exists in that process? And what do you do to kind of offset that to make sure that you're kind of maintaining a steady flow of growth for the business?
Well, networking events are good. Like in summertime, you've got different things that you can go to, golf tournaments or the chamber events, and those are important. Distributing content online, value add content to continue to grow your audience is another key thing that I've really been focusing on in the last 12 months or so, just to try and help, again, build some trust and awareness of what I'm doing. And just generally going in and asking if you've got a network or Rolodex, go back to those individuals and ask for referrals or let them know what you're doing and see if there's an opportunity that they know of people out there that may need the services that you're offering or the thing that you're offering.
Right. Yeah. So there's a opportunity to make connections at events where the people that you're looking to serve are kind of gathering. Um, but for some, uh, there may be this challenge of like, how do I make the introductions? How do I approach, following up? And it all kind of feels a little salesy. So I wonder what you do to mitigate that kind of icky sales feeling in the work that you're doing, because you seem very authentic in the way that you do this.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think for me, when I started my MSP, the biggest thing that we got out of it was referrals. Once I had customers, built relationships, and just said, hey, do you know anybody that needs some help? If you refer me to an individual and you're credible, obviously the referral's credible, that trust is gonna go a lot longer and a lot further than just picking up the phone and cold calling, right? So
Mhm.
again, relationships build trust, trust builds the sales funnel. And then ultimately, as you continue to have customers for a longer term, you just continue to build on those relationships and continue to grow. Yeah, I agree. I don't believe in making 100 cold calls a day. Some people do, and that's great. The relationship selling takes a little bit longer, but the lifetime gross profit of the customer and tends to be a lot longer because of the fact that you have a relationship and you're going to hockey games or you're buying them a lunch or you're helping them out do whatever they do. And so when you have that trust, you tend to have customers for life, so to speak.
So what you're pointing at kind of reminds me of this idea of going vertical or rather than going horizontal. And by that I mean we can reach out to a volume of people, right? That we can stretch ourselves across as many different conversations as possible, or we can go very deep with a very key select group of people or individuals in our relationship. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, for sure. Like one of my customers is a medical fund, and they have 18 different clinics. And so, as we all know, there's lots of medical clinics around. And so, as I kind of built into those relationships and built trust over the last 5 years with them, I just said, hey, you know what? I'm in Kelowna now, or I'm in Vancouver. Do you know anybody that we can help? So our ideal customer profile is in the medical side of things. This is what we do, and we do it really well. So even, yeah, you go a little bit deeper on that vertical and try and improve the value or your competitive edge over spreading yourself across multiple verticals and saying you're great at everything, right?
Hmm. In the relationship building world, it's kind of, for lack of better terms, intangible in terms of how you kind of keep track of progress with people, right? You can't really measure with a yardstick how much somebody likes you or dislikes you or trusts you or distrusts you. And so um, I wonder what your approach is to measuring your success in the activities that you're doing so you can kind of be more effective with your efforts.
Yeah, I think, you don't, for me over the years, I never really pestered too many people. I always just I had my funnel on my desk and I knew who to call, when to call. I would just check in or I'd be, hey, I'm downtown. You want to grab a coffee? And, the likelihood of how fast they respond and how often you meet will kind of determine how deep the relationship gets to, right? And the next thing you know, you get invited to their Christmas parties, or you get do whatever it is, right? And you can just tell, you can tell by the level of communication that you have with the individuals. And it doesn't necessarily, you go for coffee, it's like, oh, your kids just graduated high school. How cool is that? Or you're going away for Mexico. Like, it's just a lot of it's like the sales side of it is a certain degree, but it's also just having the ability to have a social conversation with someone that you can build a rapport with and have that trust that you know that he's a genuine, or they're a genuine person and they mean well, and they're here to help.
Right. So at Cybertrends, are you kind of a solopreneur right now in that venture, or are you kind of managing a team now?
Right now, I'm just a solo. I've got some contractors that I work with as I need to, depending on the size of the contracts and the agreements that are coming through. Right now, I just launched a new initiative. It's an IT managed services coaching and mentorship program that includes cybersecurity. So we kind of mentioned it earlier. It's helping those IT providers secure their customers better, teach them what I've learned over the 22 years of, or 25 years of experience. But ultimately, my long-term goal in the next 12 months is I'm going to have probably 4 or 5 coaches under my belt to help train the other IT providers across North America, and help them gain traction into the cybersecurity world that they're trying to deliver.
So when you're kind of approaching the scaling of this whole operation as you move forward, what sorts of revenue milestones are you looking at hitting so that you can make the necessary decisions to continue to add to the team?
Well, it's a great question. There's a couple of ways that you need to track kind of your ability to grow and scale a business. One, it's what I use is called lifetime gross profit versus client acquisition costs, and it's just how much money do you need to put into the thing, and how much do you get out on the other side. And so, if you get your ratios over 5 to 10 to 1, then you have the ability to really invest that money into the organization in different areas, marketing or more staff or whatever it is, right? And so, for me to have 3 to 5 staff in the coaching program, I'm looking to scale to about $100,000 a month in recurring revenue in the next 12 months. So that'll get me to a 7-figure business, well over a 7-figure business. And then monitoring those financial impact numbers, then we can determine how big and how fast we can grow. And then at that point, maybe I look at hiring a coach or a consultant down in California or Australia or wherever it is, right? But you kind of have to take those baby steps before you can get into where you need to go.
So how do you approach managing the team then as it grows? Because there's certain parts that you have, obviously, like you have a depth of knowledge that some people may or may not have an equivalent to, and so kind of compensating for that disparity, or making sure that that person is enabled to do a job that is remarkable enough that it allows for referrals. How do you approach kind of keeping everybody motivated, keeping them focused, and keeping them driving towards that target?
Well, so the way I've always felt that if you build the people will help build the business. And so, one of the things I start with when I hire somebody is I want to know exactly their 5-year plan and where they're going to be in 5 years, how much money they're going to make, what kind of car they're driving, where they're living. And then we work on the vision around the business to help them achieve those goals. And then as we move into more optimization of those employees, I'm a big believer in standard operating procedures. So you kind of build something once and then you show them how to do that. A mentor of mine, Dan Martell, talks about the camcorder method, where you actually videotape you onboarding or you videotape training, and then you have that SOP or that process to deliver to all the other coaches or whoever else that comes on. All they got to do is watch the video, and then they now can repeat that video over and over again until they actually understand the exact process the way I do it. And then they can just kind of follow my lead on that. There's tools out there, like there's one called Loom that we use quite a bit. And so we can do video recordings and we can click on mouse buttons and different things just to show, how do you process payroll? How do you onboard? How do you create a ticket? How do you, whatever you need to do. The more standard operating procedures you can get in an organization, the more it frees or buys back your time without having to continually solve the same problem over and over again.
Yeah, there's that whole watching the game tapes thing. I'm really present to that because it's a part of how I've improved myself over the ages. I used to the amount of time I've spent being on video and audio and hearing myself and watching myself over and over again has kind of driven me to a place where I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with this and with that. What would you say, though, Tim, to those who are kind of reluctant to cross that threshold into that, looking into that mirror that deeply?
It's it's interesting because, when I in my 20s I started public speaking,
Mhm.
and I never did it before, and they threw me in front of 75 people, and you kind of sink or swim, right? So
Right.
the way I look at the video marketing and the stuff that you do and the content that I produce, lots of people can public speak, but they can't talk in front of a camera like this.
Mm.
And so the way I correlate it back, it's like going to the gym. So I work out 6 days a week. I don't think about it. I get up and I do it, right? It becomes reps and it becomes consistency. So people that are struggling to speak in front of a camera, just because you can't speak in front of you record it in front of a camera doesn't mean you have to post it on the internet. All you have to do is come up with a 2-minute conversation and have that conversation by yourself and just continue to do that. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, right?
So what are some of the things that they should be looking for if they genuinely want to actually make improvements? And I'll use this as kind of a precursor to your response. Michael Jordan had a documentary that he put out where he was talking about his training. And, it's not just about repetition and doing the same thing over and over and over again, because if you're throwing the ball at the hoop and your elbow keeps pointing out, you're practicing, but you're doing it wrong, and so you're practicing the wrong thing. So from that lens, Tim, what should we be looking for?
Well, and I played basketball and hockey, and it's not practice all the time. It's perfect practice, right? So again, fundamentals of how you shoot the ball or shoot the puck or whatever it is you do. With public speaking, I'd put the slide deck up on the TV, and I would just rehearse it, and then I'd record myself, and then I'd listen to it over and over again. And as you do it, you'll just start to get nuances of how this is going to flow or it's not going to flow. And let's be honest, the internet's got a lot of information out there. So there's a lot of stuff you can figure out very quickly of how to create videos, how to add captions, where to sit, where does the frames go, all of those sorts of things. And again, it just comes down to experience. I mean, you got to start somewhere. Everybody starts in the same spot. So,
Mhm.
you got to dive into it and give it your all, but you also have to work at doing it correctly.
Yeah, just make I love that perfect practice as the
Yeah.
term that you coined there. Is
Yeah.
doing the thing over and over again is not necessarily going to lead you there, but if you're doing the thing the right way, it's going to take you a little longer to get it figured
Yep.
out, right? But this same with working out, right? Your form has to be correct, or you're
Right.
not going to be targeting, a specific muscle group or whatever when you're doing the workout, right?
Right. For sure.
So, Tim, as we kind of come to a close of our time together here, I wonder if we can look forward into the future at some of the, big goals that you're aiming at for the business, and maybe, what you're doing to kind of set the trajectory there.
Yeah. Great question. So it's ultimately for me right now, as I've moved into the 50-year-old phase of my life, it's more about giving back and helping the young entrepreneurs really grow and succeed. And if you can give back and help them do that and watch them go from 1 to 3 to 5 million in revenue, or if they can put in a security practice that generates them X number of dollars, but gives them gives the customers the confidence that they trust them to do the right things. That's the most important for me. Like the money's money. It's always good, but I feel that I've got so much knowledge up here in my head that I would love to give it back to the people that want to learn from it. I know I wish I had a coach back in the day, when I was at 500,000, 1, 2, 5, $7 million. I always wished I had someone I could talk to. Someone that's already done it to just going to go a long ways. Right. So for me, again, I like to have 3 or 4 coaches on my staff by this time next year and have, 30 or 40 customers kind of roll through the system and the program. And then ultimately they see the value in it because it helps them get to where they want to go.
Yeah, that's there's this legacy factor, I guess, once you kind of reach a certain point in your life and you have developed a certain set of skills and knowledge, it's becomes imperative to try to pass that on and kind of keep that information flowing. And I love that that is a part of the goals and aspirations that you're kind of aiming at. What about future trends and technologies and things that you see kind of in the works right now? Is there anything that you're kind of excited about?
Yeah, just coming up with the solutions around the AI technology stuff that's coming around. I mean, we're just starting this whole AI journey, which
Mhm.
can be scary at times, I think. But I just love to see how technology evolves. And what I really like is I like customers and clients and myself to work smarter, not harder. So we need to figure out ways to utilize that technology and help them know. And let's be honest, when you're working in the business, you don't have time to go out and research all the vendors and do all the things to make your company go better. When you're working on in the business, you can't do it. When you're working on the business, it's a little easier. But again, I have 25 years experience and I have contacts and vendors and Rolodexes. I just got off the phone with a vendor this morning. They just gave me a quick update on their solutions. And so passing that off to the customers, I think is important. And then I don't know how you stay ahead of the curve in the IT world because it's just changing at a rapid pace, right?
It's so fast that we can't barely keep up with it. And somebody made me very present to this idea that this is the worst AI is ever going to be. And so, if with that in mind, there's a ton of upside and potential and things that are, coming down the line that I think is going to tremendously change the landscape for us all and the way that we do business. So Tim, the last thing I normally ask this, if there's a piece of advice that you give somebody, but you've been very generous in your insights already. So I'm gonna get a little bit more specific with the question for you, Tim. If you had a piece of advice to offer 35-year-old version of Tim in that early days of like really just getting out there trying to make something happen, what would that advice be?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. First and foremost, don't ever be afraid to ask for help. Check your ego at the door and get out of your own way is kind of where, people would put their heads down and they can do everything and they kind of figure it out on their own. That's a great attitude and a great work ethic, but you can't be afraid to ask for help. And then the other thing too, like if you just have a calling to do some sort of entrepreneurial thing or whatever it is that you're wanting to do, just start doing it. Like don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till Tuesday after the long weekend. You just got to start. And the sooner you start, the sooner you get to your end goal. And a lot of people will sit there and wait for the perfect time to start a business or start a service or a solution. Don't dive in head first and start today.
I'm so present to the ready, fire, aim strategy in that you can only be so ready and you got to
Yeah.
take a shot and then figure out where to aim from there. So I love that that's the advice that you offer.
Yeah.
Tim, this has been wonderful. You've been so generous with your time and your wisdom, and I'm very grateful for that. In closing, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to perhaps pick your brain or work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can go to cybertrends.ca. It's my website there, or they can find me on LinkedIn and or Instagram. I'm kind of buzzing around everywhere out there. So that's the easiest way. And then my cell, 250-859-6294. I just got a new number. So.
Awesome. Cool. We'll make sure to link to what we can in the show notes so that anybody watching or listening can reach out to you easily. And on that note, if you wanted to get in touch with me and my team for any of your marketing needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, and I will see you in the next.